So welcome to another edition of Bourbon Over Baseball. Today, I don't have the bourbon. I'm trying to not drink while my wife's pregnant. I'm going to take a hiatus until she's done being pregnant, and then we'll both drink at the same time. So I think that's what I'll be doing until then. So I'm missing the bourbon part, but I'll keep the baseball part alive here. And today I got Peter, who is a Showdown creator on the greatest MLB blogspot.com.
Yeah, greatest MLB Showdown.blogspot.com. Happy to be here, Bob, and making up for the bourbon you're not drinking tonight.
There you go.
It all works out.
That's better. Yeah, I want to be. I got all this bourbon downstairs. I just can't drink any right now. Well, it's not that I can't. I just chose to.
Being a good husband.
Yes.
Being a good husband.
Yes. So basically, what we wanted to do here was to create a podcast, not like the other ones I was doing before, which I was talking to the managers, but this time to actually break down some of the teams. And Peter's been creating this along with Matthew, who helps out with the statistics and stuff. He wants we both want to create this brand new, fully cohesive, all the cards for 2018. We want to be able to play with these. We want all the teams. So he's been putting together the set. He's been putting together the details, the statistics. I've been helping with the artwork, helping my little bit on like defensive rating, speed. But majority of the heavy lifting is done with Peter. So I definitely wanted to get him on here. This is as much his project, if not more his project than mine. So I'm glad that we are teaming up for this.
Oh, me too. And I don't know if this project could come together without either of us pitching in, because it's just a monumental undertaking.
It is.
My friends and I have been making charts for full sets for a couple years now, and we went all in again in 2017 and just finished up our 30-game regular season for all 30 teams and are thick in it with the playoffs right now, but it was just too heavy of an undertaking to make all the cards for one person to do. So teaming up with you, Bob, has really helped make this possible because the cards look amazing, and I can't wait to get them.
Yes, we're going to try to not only make these, but get our own sets printed for ourselves, and then obviously releasing all this to the public, all you people listening, and you guys will all have this access to free. I know there's some people on Twitter who are eager to get some of these cards out and see what we've been creating. So it's pretty cool, and it is cool also to see what Peter's been doing. I've been reading his blog before, and then I was able to create sort of a template, and then he just went and took it to another level. So I think it's going to kind of be sweet to now get a whole 2018 set with all our favorite players, all our favorite teams, and to actually get down and playing it, and then seeing how Peter and his friends do in his league. I do a draft with my league, as some of you know before. So it's going to be pretty cool to see how this goes forward. So.
Yeah, no, and I love the variety of Showdown play that we've got on the site.
Yes.
Between your mixed leagues and the sort of classic draft of 5,000-point team league, my friends and I doing full teams for one season, all battling it out, and then Matthew, who contributes a lot to the site, and his tournament style Showdown leagues, where it's a little faster and mixes the years up.
No, I liked it too, yeah, and I love his content as well, and he's much a part of this as anything. He's been helping with all the stats, making sure we can even keep going at this pace.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if we'd be able to get this done without him filling in on a lot of the hitters charts, and he's going to be helping out with relievers coming up soon here, so he's been a big contributor.
Absolutely. Now, we were able to, as you were doing the statistics, I was trying to just cut out players nonstop and get these people cut out. And once your statistics dropped for some of the teams, I was able to get one team together, which is my favorite team, the Cleveland Indians, which is also Matthew's favorite team as well. So that's going to be the first one uploaded. And as you're probably reading this, then you would seeing the cards above, and then hopefully listening to this podcast as well. But we have all the cards then for the Indians. They finished 91 wins, I believe, this year, and not the best division to be in, or I guess the easiest division to be in, but it didn't prove themselves worthy when it came to playoffs. So they coasted to the playoffs, but against 500 teams, they were below par, and that showed in the playoffs. So what was your thought of the Cleveland Indians in general before the cards got created?
Honestly, I didn't realize that they were so bad against teams with winning records last year, and I saw the 90-something wins while Trevor Bauer was injured, and I kind of thought to myself, Andrew Miller's out, Cody Allen will pick it up. They still have to be a really good team. I bought into the Buster only hype before the playoffs began in terms of, oh, this is the team that's going to go on the run. And I think I got seduced by their 2,000-point rotation.
Yeah.
And believing that this was going to be one of the best teams in Showdown when the bullpen is really bad.
Yeah, I mean, when you heard about it going into the playoffs, everyone was like, their starting pitching is going to be the reason they get there. Their lineup is hit or miss. Some parts are strong. It just depends on who shows up. Their starting rotation is just ridiculous. And then their bullpen just falls off the map. So it's a little disappointing. So let's dive right into this. Let's see if we want to do the offense. Then we'll just start right down the list. Now the Indians usually start off with Francisco Lindor leading off. This card looks phenomenal. We got
big fan of your cutout choice here.
Yes, this is a spring training game. He's got the Arizona Cactus League type thing on his the Arizona Spring League on his hat. So 8 on base, speed 19B, shortstop +5. He can homer at 16, which is realistic. I mean, he was crushing it, but it wasn't as solid this year on his on bases in years past. But I think one hell of a card. I mean, this guy is 440 points, but I don't see this guy not being drafted.
And in fact, probably a first-round pick.
Yeah.
For the variety he gives. I think one of the cooler sort of changes that we have to this set compared to other years is the numbering of the speed and making 19B. So I think we ended up doing anything below 15 was C.
Yep.
15 to 19 is B, and then 20 plus is A.
Yes.
And that way, like the Speed A guys are really deserving of that moniker. So, big fan of that.
I agree, and I know we're going to get the hate and for some of these people, and some people they think faster than others, and some people are slower than they think. A big reason from that is it's not just stolen base speed or foot speed. This is ability to tag up, ability to advance on hits, ability to advance any time, running the bases speed. This determines a lot of, actually in Showdown too, when you're trying to tag up, trying to advance an extra base. This is very important. So a guy that is realistically good should be realistically good in the Showdown game as well.
And I think those sort of reliance on metrics that go beyond the simple Baseball Reference front page stats and going into those deeper analytics is also a key to the, in my opinion, improved defensive ratings that we gave players beyond simple how many errors did they make in the season, like you see in past cards from different creators.
Yes, and I uploaded some sneak peeks on the Twitter, and there was already people responding, I feel like this guy's defense should be higher. Now, I get it. It's going to look like that for a lot of people, but if you go and break down a lot of these stats, you'll see that their defensive run saved, their position valuing. I did it per player. We're trying to break this down. I mean, I even had Peter here double check all the catcher arms, and a few of them did change, but as we'll see here,
by and large, stayed pretty consistent.
Exactly. This you'll see later on that some of these people, you'll think that they look good, and I think it's a mental thing, but the Showdown really kind of wakes you up when you look at their stats.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest things too, for bringing it back to Lindor in terms of waking up, he had such a much stronger season this year than last year.
Yes.
From 2017, he's up and on base without losing any of his power tier. Yeah. I believe in our 2017 set, he was an on base 7 who homered at 15, and still just like getting a single plus at 10.
Yeah.
With the 19 speed +5 with an on base 8, which one of the things we tried to do in this set was suppress control on the various pitchers, just to keep people from overwhelming quite as much, because it's always more exciting when you get your own chart.
Mm-hmm.
And we found in years past we were giving out way too many control 4s and 5s that just weren't deserved. And so this year we really went in on making sure that you earned a control 5 or 6.
Absolutely.
And guy like who's an on-base 8 is going to get a lot of charts.
Yeah.
Probably more than years past.
I mean, think about it. Now he gets the advantage. He's only getting out at 3. And then anything, 50% of the time, he's almost always going to second base. Now, my league, I run the single plus a little different. Standard showdown rules are he gets a single and steals automatically. Mine is not automatic. I make them still try to earn it. But that's just house rules, and everyone's rules are different. But it's still going to be impressive to see a 50% basically on second base person.
He's a hell of a player.
I think for sure. I think you're right. I think he's going first round pick. I mean, for somebody, he's very workable. He's going to be in someone's lineup. He's someone's team is building around this guy. He's just so solid defensively. +5. He's going to be there.
Especially just position scarcity. Shortstop is an area that there's not a lot of offense. Corey Seager got injured, and that definitely dampened the amount of offensive players. So between him, Machado, and Trevor Story, those are going to be your 3 main options for a big bat in the shortstop hole, and I expect all 3 to go fairly early on in drafts.
Yeah, this is in the days of original Showdown where you had Jeter, Nomar Garcia-Parra, A-Rod, all these.
God, A-Rod on the Rangers was always the number 1 pick in our drafts.
He's
so good.
I think he's MVP right now halfway through my season. Wow. So quickly then on to the second batter is Michael Brantley in the lineup. It looks like a very solid card. It's a 9 on base. Overall, nothing's fancy here, but just very good, solid card.
Affordable.
Absolutely. He
number 6 hitter type of guy.
Yeah. I think he's going to find his way into some lineups. And then after that, you're going to have Jose Ramirez. Now this is where the Indians' power comes in. This is the big boy on the team this year. He was in the MVP race for a while. I don't think he's going to finish anywhere near the MVP. This is going to be a Trout Betts race. But Jose Ramirez, a 10 on base, speed 20, switch hitter, play 2 positions at plus fielding, homer at 18. This is the guy you want on your team. He's a monster.
Absolute monster, but kind of an unfortunate disappointment to me. Maybe just because falling so closely along with the Indian season with you and Matthew, but he had such a tear in the early part of the year, and it seemed like getting to 40 home runs and therefore earning an on-base 10 homer at 17 card was a lock. And then he just fell off and barely missed it, keeping him at the 18 to 20 home run range.
Yeah.
And then his double range also got slightly decompressed by his inability to finish super hot. Yeah, only 38 doubles. Really thought he'd get to 50. And so the single plus helps him out, but I really thought it would be a literal double at 13, home run at 17 card. So I'm a little disappointed Jose isn't a 600-point player.
Yeah, he had the ability going in just like a month after the All-Star break and then just fell off the map. So I mean, he's still going to be on someone's team. A-Speed 10 is amazing, but it could have been so much better.
Plus 2 position eligibility. Gives you a lot of flexibility if you take him early on in the draft, so you get to pick a third baseman or second baseman for cheap later. Just a lot of good things to like with Jose.
Yeah, my buddy told me about a draft that we might be doing, a little bit of a drinking draft, where you blind pick out of a stack of cards, and you have to put that person at a position if it's available, and if not, it goes into a discard pile. So it seems like a person that could play 2 positions could be fun for a drinking league like that, or drinking tournament is what he wants to do. I thought it'd be kind of fun.
That's a lot of fun.
Next up, we have Edwin Encarnacion, who is the cleanup hitter, who's in the Indians for another year. Again, the year before, he was a monster, and then this year struck out a lot, didn't walk as much, his on base went down. He's a truck, but he still homers. He's a 7 on base.
He stayed in the same home run range as last year.
Yep.
But going from a 9 homer at 17 to a 7 homer at 15 is a big drop-off in terms of getting rostered by a lot of players.
And this also, I think Indians fans will look at this and go, this is exactly what they feel happened to Edwin. He was an amazing player last year. You felt like this was like a great pick. And then this year you were like, what happened to him? So this card shows exactly that.
He's going to be a terror against pitchers with low control. So whenever you're going up against a starter with control 2, control 3, great to have in the lineup.
Yep.
Really going to struggle against the control 5 guys.
That, and he has to be your DH. He doesn't have his first base eligibility, which is going to hurt people. I mean, you're rostering a guy as a 7 on base, but I don't know. If you got him, he's got a chance.
Speaking of a guy who you probably won't roster, but at least has first base eligibility, Yonder Alonso with the +1, flashing the leather out there.
Yes, and that's why Edwin played DH.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing here, and you'll have to probably, if you have the stats up, was that the Indians decided to get rid of Carlos Santana. They let the Phillies sign a 6-year deal and pick up Yonder for a 1-year deal. And they got good production out of someone for a 1-year deal. But I think Santana, had like an 8 on base, or is going to. So it just seems like when I look down actually at the real stats here, it's a little disappointing how Yonder finished.
Carlos Santana came in just under 300 points, on base 8, speed C, but homer at 18, double at 15.
Yeah.
The same power tier for home run numbers, but just gives you a lot more consistency.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's rostering Yonder Alonso at a 6 on base. But again, first base +1, like you were saying, it's nice. And he's got some pop, but just, I don't know.
It's tough.
It is tough. Who's after?
Same with Melky.
Melky's after him, yeah. I liked Melky a lot for the Indians this year. I thought it was a good pickup, but he wasn't a stud, and this is where the Indians lineup just starts falling apart. That on that first half, you were like, "This is the team," and then here's Yonder, here's Melky, kind of falling apart. We have Jason Kipnis after this, just rough. I mean,
Greg Allen's got a lot of speed, at least in the 8-hole, but yeah, it's a tough lineup.
Yes.
Definitely bolstered playing against a lot of the AL Central teams, because you look at the low controls and the frankly awful pitchers that are going to be coming out of the Royals, White Sox, and Tigers, along as some really inconsistent pitchers for the Twins. And it makes a lot of sense why this offense was able to put up some decent numbers during the season.
Yes.
I think they ended up scoring over 800 runs.
Yep. Lindor led the league in runs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and they have a lot of guys who hit over 15 homers.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, the on-bases are too low against teams like the Red Sox, Astros, and Yankees.
The AL East.
Really compete. Yeah, the whole one. Maybe they win 80 games, 85 games in the AL East.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Greg Allen for an Indians fan is I think he's on the upswing. He's young, he's hungry. We'll see what he can do forward, but right now, this is kind of what he is.
He's got the beautiful rookie card designation.
Yeah, we're adding this in this year for the rookie players, and hopefully maybe something for whoever wins Rookie of the Year. We're going to have MVP symbols and Cy Young symbols that Peter's going to put together for us. So all those will be done as well.
Already put it on Christian Yelich. As a Brewer fan, I'm confident.
I don't know how he's that. All the stuff I've seen online says he's like 99%. It's really just the AL is who is it going to be, Trout or Betts? So, which I think it's Betts, but that's just me.
Yeah. I think moving to the last hitter in the lineup, obviously, and you referenced this in the post, but perhaps the most controversial aspect of the Indians is Yan Gomes only being a +5 arm.
Absolutely. I mean, this guy. If you thought about the Indians, you're like, well, Yan Gomes is throwing people out. And he does. He throws people out at first base. He's quick on the draw, but his caught stealing percentage was down this year. His defensive rating behind home plate was down. Now, I don't know if that's because the off-speed pitches are coming in like crazy from Trevor Bauer and everybody. Who knows? But it was down. It was way down. I mean, I had a +5. You ran the double, checked the numbers, +5. We're not lying here. This guy is way down. And so this guy...
It's really disappointing.
Yeah, you thought you probably could sneak this guy in for a big value pick with a huge arm, and it's just not there this year.
Yeah, for reference, in the 2017 set that we have, he's a +8 arm, and so
which you would think is realistic.
Yeah, and so I think he's only he might even be less points or very similar point wise because his chart was not as good.
Yeah, he picked it up offensively at the end of the year.
But still, with the low on base, it makes you really hesitant to draft him because it's hard to draft the 6. Whereas Yan Gomes last year, as an on base 5 with the +8 arm, and it was 140 points. But that difference in arm is so big when you're drafting a catcher.
Yeah, and I usually punt catcher a lot unless I'm taking a top tier catcher. A 6 on base +5 arm is not going to cut it. I mean, you want to look at a +8 or above. If you got anybody with 20 speed stealing, this is going to hurt you. I mean, they're going to just run all over this catcher, which is disappointing. But the numbers don't lie. I mean, this was him. His backup catcher could be even worse.
He's awful. Roberto had a tough year.
Yeah,
Look for my guy Roberto.
Yeah, I mean, I look at him. He's 10 points. He speaks all about 10 points. His whole chart says I'm 10 points. Everything about him is maybe a bench player if you're running a bench league. This guy is not draftable at all.
He barely earned the +5 arm at that. He had 25% cut stealing, just barely squeaked into the +5 range.
Yeah.
Ugh. Tough.
Now let's talk about Rajay Davis, who we went back and forth with on points for this player.
Another beautiful looking card.
Yes, he is ready to take off.
And that's about what you'll use him for on a team.
I think this guy is a bench player and a pinch runner. A-speed 23, topping out. He's a very fast player. He does have a little bit of outfield defensibility. His chart and on base says he's a +10, but if you look at his speed and a little bit of defense here, this is someone you actually could roster on your team, which I think warrants the +20 extra points to make him a +30 player.
Yeah, and you won me over on that. I didn't really consider his versatility off the bench and just pinch running him, but it's true, and he earns the extra 20 points as one of the fastest players in the league.
Yeah, if I had to roster a player, and I'm looking at Roberto Perez and Rajay Davis, I'm taking Rajay Davis all day. At least he gives me some ability off the bench.
But fortunately, everyone in the Indians' rotation is rosterable.
Yes, break these down. These were one of your big strong points.
So one of the things that I made sure to do this year was really compare all the starting pitchers and make sure they all fit together as a set, so that comparing WHIP and ERA for all the players together and putting them into tiers and breaking it down by control, making sure that we get a balanced, varied lineup of starting pitchers and a good distribution of point totals and talent. And the Cleveland Indians put guys in the top part of the league, in all parts of the top 15 starting pitchers. 3 of them are Cleveland Indians in terms of the tier rankings. And we've got all 4 in the top 28. So these are just studs. Obviously, Corey Kluber, unbelievable guy. Another great season out of him. I always think of it in terms of tiers, which breaks down the number of outs and control. So a control 5 guy with 1 to 16 out is a tier 2, as would be a control 4 player with a 1 to 17 out, and so on and so on. The Indians have 2 tier 2 players, which is very rare. And I think in this set, it's only the Indians and the Astros who do it.
Makes sense.
Most years it's nobody.
Yeah.
So we got Kluber at the top. Great card, 5 on at 17. No home runs, 1 to 8 strikeout. And then even better than him this year, Trevor Bauer with the bigger strikeout rate, no doubles allowed, control 6, absolute titan, great to have at the start of your rotation.
I'm looking at this guy for sure. I mean, this guy looks like a huge draftable guy. 6 control guy that can go 6 innings, no downside. He's not giving up a double. The artwork I found of the again spring training game, very clear graph, and this guy it looks awesome. I'm super excited to have this card.
Yeah, and the no double and the control 6 make it really easy to send him back out for a 7th and 8th inning if you have to.
Good point.
I'm going to have to when I play with this Cleveland Indians team.
Good point.
Then you've got Carrasco, your classic David Cone type player, with the 5 on at 16, much bigger strikeout range than Cone had, and just a really solid starting pitcher. Good number 2 option for most teams, I think, when you're drafting. And I'm going to be a really big fan of this Mike Clevenger card for my draft. I love these tier 3 guys, especially with control 4, where you get the control 4, walk at 17. Here we've got a guy with no doubles.
And value.
Big walk range. Yeah. Love him for 470 points.
Absolutely. I mean, you're right. And I'm actually really excited, too, to see how next year's card comes, too. I think he's young and he's going to get there. I mean, you're right. I mean, this looks exciting. I'm excited for the Indians rotation. And again, like you said, you're keeping him out there longer because as you made me cry on a text when you told me the statistics of the bullpen here.
It's hard to look at.
I was very upset, but I understand it and I know it because I've watched them.
And I fear for the Indians' rotation come my league when I'm playing with them as a whole, because I'm going to rely so heavily on them to go innings past their normal rates. And, once they start dropping controls, bad things tend to happen. Just like, in real life, once you go through the order 2 times and you're facing them for the 3rd time through the lineup, that's when the trouble really starts to kick in. And I'm afraid for their ERA and whips in my league once the 7th and 8th inning rolls around.
Yeah. Okay, well, so break down then. Start with the 2 good Indians relievers that they got in their trade for the San Diego Padres for Francisco Mejia.
Yeah. So it ended up being a huge trade. I remember at the time you and I discussed whether or not it was a good trade, and I was really reluctant to give up on Mejia if I'm the Indians, because one of the cool things that will be discussed on the blog with my current league is we made minor league players for all the teams with potential charts that would happen for progression when we end the season. And Francisco Mejia's top-notch rating is an on-base 10 catcher with a good arm who's got some pop. And I looked at him and I say, oh, man, in my league, I used him as the centerpiece to get Madison Bumgarner. I don't know if this is worth it for Brad Hand. Well, now that I saw the rotation being supported by this bad of a bullpen, I have to say I've come around to thinking Mejia was a good deal, because this is a terrible bullpen. Brad Hand, though, very solid. Another Tier 3 guy, huge strikeout range, 1 to 11. So you get your chart, more than half the time you're going to strike the other guy out. That's great value. Gives up a double, but 2 walks, 17-18. Should be a really good reliever.
Yeah, and in real life, the Indians relied on him a lot. They actually had him close a couple games. It was a great move. They got him and Adam Simber.
Simber's lower control guy. Control 2, lets on at 18. Not someone I think a lot of people will draft. When you're looking at your bullpen, you tend to want to get guys to minimize the harm. Mm-hmm. And I think the risk of a Control 2 is going to scare me away.
Yeah.
But if you're just trying to fill out a roster for 100 points, if you want a 4th or 5th guy in your bullpen that you're going to bring in against the bottom of the order and sort of strategically use him against the on-base 5 and 6s that are going to end up populating the back end of lineups and hoping for the best against them, well, then he might be a decent option.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking him because he's 100 points and hoping that you don't have to use him much. But if you do, you get the 1 through 17 out. You're facing the bottom of their lineup. I mean, I think that's the only way you can draft him.
Unfortunately, the rest of the bullpen probably won't be picked unless you're in desperation mode for a cheap option,
or some kind of crazy diehard Indians fan.
Oh, yeah. It got really bad, and no one was more surprised by this than I was when I was filling it out. But first you've got Dan, and then you've got Neil, and then you've got poor Cody. All of which give up a home run off their own chart with low control. And I was that meme where the guy does the double take with his eyes incarnate when I looked at the baseball reference page for home runs per 9 innings. A peek behind the curtain. Pitchers get a home run off their chart if they give up 1.5 home runs per 9 inning or more. And all 3 of them were the 3 most used Indian relievers listed on Baseball Reference, all over that rate. Cody at the 1.5, Dan at 1.8, and Neil at a staggering 1.9.
Wow.
And what's really tough is if they had not traded for Hand and Simber, they would have had Josh Tomlin on the roster, who gave up a preposterous 3.2 home runs per 9 innings, which would have given him 2 home runs off his own chart, which was workshopped by Matthew, and would have just made their bullpen easily the worst I've ever seen. This is already terrible.
Yeah.
But boy, it
Yeah.
could have been worse somehow.
For any of you diehard blog readers, you'll probably see Matt's old post if you dig through. He made a Josh Tomlin card. I think it was negative points. It was going to be a jokey card, but the stats are real. I mean, he was so bad, and every Indians fan knows when he went in, you just shook your head, you were scared, you put your hands over your face. I mean, this is bad.
And he somehow pitched 70 innings.
Yeah.
I think that just goes to show how desperate the Indians were for guys just to finish out games. And I guess in the AL Central, you get big enough leads against Chicago, Detroit, and Kansas City, you can afford to put Josh Tomlin out there, give up a few home runs, and call it a game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting next year, too, with, I think we were talking before that they might have Carlos Carrasco jump in the bullpen for next year. They have Plunko and Bieber as these two young starting pitchers that they could bring up. They need help, and we'll see what they make some moves in the offseason. But for now, this is what the Indians look like. We're going to be doing this for hopefully all the teams. Hopefully it'll be quicker than this. This is our first time going at this, and we just want to make sure we go through thoroughly and see how you the fans are reacting to this and how you like it. And we'll make this better in every podcast hopefully going forward. I think the next one hopefully will be Peter's Brewers, which look a lot better than the Indians. And he can have fun with that one for sure.
The Brewers will be 4,800 points, a little more than the Indians, who came in this year just over 4,600 points, which definitely lower than expected, but not as bad as they could be when you consider their bullpen is a whopping 280 points for 5 pitches.
Yeah, and you guys will see there's some relievers that have more points than that.
Yeah.
Okay, with that being said, I think we're going to wrap up here, and I hope you guys all enjoyed.
Thanks for having me on, Bob, and I will drink 2 bourbons in your honor tonight.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Thanks, you too.